This is a capacitor. Capacitors are electronic components that store electrical energy. You can think of them as small batteries that can charge and discharge very quickly. Unlike a battery, a capacitor is designed to store a relatively small amount of energy and release it rapidly. Capacitors come in many different shapes, sizes, and values, but they all serve the same basic purpose: rapidly storing and discharging electrical energy. Capacitance is measured in units called farads. Since a farad is a very large unit, most of the capacitors you'll see are measured in microfarads, abbreviated as UF. Larger capacitors have a higher capacitance value, meaning they can store more electrical energy. One important thing to know is that some capacitors are polarized and some are not. If a polarized capacitor is connected backwards, it may not work correctly and can even be damaged. These capacitors shown right here are called electrolytic capacitors, which are polarized, which means they must be installed in the correct direction. Similar to LEDs, the longer leg will indicate the positive side. Other capacitors, such as ceramic capacitors, are non-polarized and can be connected in either direction. Let's look at how a capacitor behaves. First, let's connect the capacitor to a battery to charge it up. Current flows into the capacitor and it begins to store charge until it becomes fully charged and current stops flowing into it. If we disconnect the battery from the capacitor and connect the capacitor to the breadboard to power the LED, we will see that it turns on, and current begins to flow from the capacitor to the LED. The process of charging and discharging is what makes a capacitor useful in electronics. Capacitors are used in a wide variety of applications. They can smooth out voltages, power fluctuations, create timing circuits, filters, and so much more. Because capacitors store electricity, they can remain charged even after disconnecting them from a power source, as we saw here. Most of the capacitors in this kit store a very small amount of electricity and are safe to handle, but it's still a good habit to remember that capacitors can hold a charge for some time after being disconnected from power. As you work through future projects, you'll see that capacitors are used in many different ways. For now, just remember that capacitors store electrical energy, can charge and discharge very quickly, and are one of the most common components found in electronics. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.